What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Survivor Now podcast. My name is Randy. I am joined by my co-analyst, Matthew. And today we are joined by the 12th castaway eliminated from Survivor Australia, Titans versus Rebels. Winna joins us. Winna, how are you doing today, man? How are you feeling?
I'm good, man. It feels like I've just died. I feel I'm getting all these messages saying, "Oh, so sad you're leaving," and I'm like, "I'm still alive, man. You know,
I'm,
I'm still here."
I'm still here. I'm still thriving. Look, we always like to start this with like a fun-spirited question, and we're
Yeah,
curious, how did you spend the night last night? Because it's a whole different experience, like going back, rewatching everything, and it
yeah,
had to be, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Intimidating or scary? I don't know. Looking forward to your elimination episode. So, how
yeah.
was your evening last night?
Man, it felt sad. It was like because you're on an island and you have no contact to your loved ones and these people you never met before. But one day in Survivor feels like a week, and it feels like I've known these people all my life. And all the bonds I created, it felt like a family vlog rewatching the whole season. And man, it happened so quick. Like when you see your name come up, it feels like you instantly like in slow motion, and then you don't like you get up, you turn, you say bye, and it's all a blur. And before it happened to me, I always questioned like, why did these guys leave so quick? Like when Charles left, I was so sad. I was like, dude, give me a hug, talk to me, man. Why are you leaving so quickly? But now when you're in it, like I completely understand. It's like, wow, it happened to me. And then you just walk off, and it just feels like silence after that. Like you walk off and then you get put somewhere else, and it's just like you're thinking about what happened, what I could have done better, who did this to me, things like that, and just thinking nonstop. But sleeping on a bed for the first time after sleeping on sticks and whatnot, it
Uh,
felt amazing.
Were you able to actually sleep on the bed? Because I've heard stories about people who are like they can't adjust to the bed and they had to
Yeah,
like sleep on the floor until they were ready to
really.
sleep like that again. You were
Yeah,
fine?
I fell asleep pretty easily, but it felt like I was sinking into the mattress. And I was thinking, like, why do we sleep like this in general? This is so like it felt a bit uncomfortable. It was too soft. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah,
Was
it
it
tastes better.
hard to bite into food again after you bit into that banana and got that idol? Did it hurt? It looked like it hurt.
Oh yeah, the banana hurt a lot. Like because I was like kind of raging that the reward was so shit. I was like, I was like, we're gonna get like fried chicken, all these like delicious foods, whatever, and it's just one tiny banana, one singular banana. So I'm like biting into it, and bang, like proper, nearly broke my teeth, I reckon. And it was like the scroll was in this like hard encased, almost wooden thing. So yeah, it actually hurt quite a bit.
I imagine you should get some compensation if they actually chipped your tooth or if something actually happened there.
Yeah,
Dental
yeah.
bill, yeah.
I
and
should have
and
just gone again and broken it, gotten some free veneers or something.
Oh, you definitely should have. No, okay. So we'll start off. We'll talk about this idol here that you found. So we kind of saw some interesting strategy from you when you got this clue, because I remember you told your closest ally, Jaden, or your closest friend, basically, look, I have this clue. I want to go out, find this idol. And he was ready. He's like, let's go, bro. Let's go do this immediately. And you had the strategy of, no, I'm going to wait a little bit. So can you walk us through that strategy of why you didn't go look for it immediately? Obviously, it worked out for you. Just walk us through that situation.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was still early days, and I was already quite tight with Jaden. And I feel like I just wanted him to know as well that my trust for him was on that level where I would let you know if I had an idol and we would use it together, sort of thing. And I think I'm quite a loyal person in my personal life, and I wanted to live the same way on the island. And I thought it was a good way of, letting him know that I'm actually there for you. And I also had a plan that we could use the clue later on. So I was plotting that maybe down the line, if you need it, Jaden, or I need it, we could pretend to just have found the clue, right? And then say Jaden needs to build an alliance. Maybe Jaden can go to someone and say, hey, bro, like, can you help me out? I found this idol. I'm willing to share it with you. Let's go look for it. And then they obviously don't find it. But I thought it would be the perfect tool to build relationships down the line.
That is incredible. Sorry, Matthew. I didn't mean to cut
No,
you
it's
off.
okay. I was just so curious about Jaden's role in all of this because we saw you go on the idol hunt alone eventually. And that was really, I was nervous that it wasn't going to be there at first because the message said something about the tide coming in and
Yes.
getting it.
Yes.
So I was very scared for you. But did Jaden end up knowing that you had the idol in possession once you did find it?
I told him straight away. So it was so hard to find. Like, you don't really see on TV how like cluttered the island is. Like, it's proper. You're in the jungle on this island. Like, there's so many trees, and mine was specifically on one palm tree that swayed, and it could be washed away. And I did so many laps around there, and I was getting anxious of being caught. So I had to go in the morning one day. And I remember specifically that morning, Nathan came out. And like, Nathan's my bro, but I didn't want like everyone to know about the idol, and my trust wasn't really there for him at that point. And I was like, "What are you doing up this early or something?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm getting some firewood for you guys. Like, it's quite cold this morning, so I'm gonna go get some now." And then I did a few laps, and I found it on this tiny palm tree. So yeah, super stoked I found it.
Oh, well, I have to bring up the fact before we actually get to how you played that idol eventually, in terms of like your survivor bucket list. So I put this down. You won the first individual immunity challenge. You found an idol. You pulled off a massive blindside, which I'm sure we'll get to a little bit later when you got Garrick out of the game. Which was the biggest moment for you? What really stood out? Thank God I got this off my survivor bucket list. What stood out to you, man?
Oh, that's a hard question. Look, I actually I'm not the biggest Survivor fan, right? I was approached to go on this show, and talking to all my mates, everything they said you have to achieve. Fortunately, I got to taste. Like, I found the idol. I was like, holy shit, me? Really? I found the idol out of
Had
everyone?
to feel like the most badass person in that moment when you found that.
Oh, I was like, oh, this is it. I've won. But I think winning the individual immunity was probably one of the best moments because it was the first one. And even though I didn't want to win it, I told myself that morning I shouldn't win any of these challenges till later on, right? I already knew relatively to the group, like, I'm not that I'm the most athletic person there, obviously, but I was like, I knew I had an edge in the challenges, and I didn't want to win, but then I got carried away, and I was like, me versus Alex versus Jaden, and I just kept going, and it got to my head. But winning that necklace and Jonathan putting it on and all of us seeing it for the first time, I was mad. That's probably one of the peaks of my experience.
Before Matthew hits you with the next question, do you think you could have outlasted Jaden? How much longer could you have gone on that challenge?
Oh, yeah. I had like 10 more minutes, I reckon.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it may have been my technique. So I'm a bit of a nerd sometimes when it comes to like, because I have knee problems. I dislocate my knee all the time. So I've looked into this, and your quadricep is split into like 3 muscle groups. There's like the outer, middle, and inner. And if you point your toes on the leg extension machine to the right, it targets the inside more. So the whole time I'd be like exhausting my outer quad, and then I would be adjusting inside as well. And I don't know if that helped, but I was getting full nerd mode. Like, I was looking like I was in pain, but I was proper like trying to shift the forces around my leg. Like, maybe it's my engineering side coming out as well. But yeah, I could have lasted 10 more minutes, I reckon. I was fine.
Not me going to the gym tonight and using that exact technique when I'm at.
I was going to say, I have to try it. I loved watching this challenge, and it was funny to see Jaden sort of like throw it at the end there. By the way, I don't know what he was talking about. The necklace is awesome, and it looked great on you. But let's also talk about, we brought up the Garrick vote. I was just wondering, there was a moment at that tribal council where it seemed like Garrick was about to get Ferris to play the idol on him.
Yes.
Would you have played your idol if that happened?
Look, a lot of people have said Ferris is a dog for not playing it for Garrick, saying he's an awful friend, this, that, but it's such a hard decision to make unless you've been there and, you've been put under pressure to play for someone else. I think there's too many factors involved for Ferris to play it. But if Ferris knew for sure Garrick was going home, I reckon Ferris would have played it. Like, in terms of how I know Ferris, I reckon he would have played it, but he didn't have enough information to confirm that it was Garrick. just coming from Eileen and Garrick himself, I don't think it was a wrong move at all. And like at the end of the day, we're all trying to win the 500K. Like for you to use your protection on someone else, it is such a hard thing to do. So no, I don't really agree with people saying Ferris should have played it for Garrick. I think he made the right move. It's too hard to decide, man. It's impossible.
But would you have played yours?
It's funny you say that because you were in the same situation. Oh, wait.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing. I would have played mine for Garrick if I was Ferris, if I knew for sure it was Garrick. That's the condition, right? He didn't know for sure. And same with Charles and I. I was so confident that the votes were going on me. I didn't think of the split. I had no idea. That may be due to my lack of Survivor knowledge. And I've sort of been seeing fans talk about it too. Some people saying, how did you not see the split vote coming? Some are like, obviously they're going to split it. But I genuinely thought that tribal, I put in enough groundwork to get the votes on me. Not all of it was aired, but I was talking so much about how Charles always wanted to work with you, Ferris and Garrick. But I decided that we can't trust them. And I was saying all this stuff to put it on me. I tried my best to get it off them. And then, yeah, when I saw they split the vote, I was devastated, like seeing Charles go like that.
I was going to ask, how confident were you? Because we saw you putting on a performance, how you're like, man, maybe I'm just saying that was me. I'm just saying I was that guy. Yeah. How confident were you that all the votes were heading your way?
Yeah, so I was actually quite confident. They didn't air a segment where Ferris is religious and he does this. He says "Wallah," and in his culture it means I swear to God, and they never go against it. It's like it's massive to go against it. And there's a scene where I asked Ferris to look him in the eye and say, "Are you voting for me?" And he goes, "Yes." And I said, "Say Wallah." And he said Wallah, and Jonathan's like, "What's Wallah, boys? What's that mean?" And I explained it to him. So I already had confidence that Ferris would vote for me. And also the way that I backstabbed them was awful. Like I spent hours talking to Garrick, talking to Ferris. I built like a properly amazing relationship with both of them. And I still love them both. Like I genuinely connected with them. And I think Ferris was super keen on working with me. I was keen on working with him too. But just given the circumstance of how we could trust Kirby, because we did an exchange with Kirby, because Kirby was waiting for Ree on the other side. And I said all this stuff that I'm so connected over there. I'm going to protect Ree for you. We had that exchange there. So long term, Kirby made more sense. So I had to backstab them. And the way I fully was in their circle was one of them. And to do that, I knew for a fact that it was very likely going to be me. But then they outsmarted us and did the split vote.
Yeah. And speaking of that split vote, I mean, you did try really hard, and we saw, it was a little bit of a miss in terms of strategy at that point. Eileen and Ferris seemed to understand what was going on right then and there. But you even went as far as to say that moving forward in the game, you don't have any interest working with either of them. Do you regret that decision now?
Look, I said it out loud, and I actually thought going into Merge that I could work with Ferris. So Ferris and I are actually very close, but in terms of the game, I obviously backstabbed him, and I thought he was open to working with me, but he wasn't. In my head, I thought it was the perfect alliance moving towards, top 3 and whatnot, because everyone knows we're not willing to work together. And I was going to try and use that to my advantage with that partnership moving forwards. I was actually stoked with working with Ferris. But yeah, we saw in the conversation with him and Kitty that he was super keen on getting rid of me. And yeah, there was no way that was happening.
So fast forward to the tribal council that we saw yesterday. The funny thing about this is I actually got spoiled this morning and saw that you were going home. And I was like, oh, no, not Winna. Okay, how did this come to be? And up until tribal council, even though I knew you were going home, I was still like, how is Winna going home? We saw all the targets. Caroline's a target. Mark's a target. We've seen all these names thrown out. So if I wasn't confident that you were going home, even though I already knew that, how confident were you going into that tribal council last night? Did you even think your name was even going to be an option?
I didn't even bring my stuff to tribal council. I left my pants, my shoes, everything back at the camp because I'm like, I'm not going home tonight. That's how confident I was. And I think it happened. The timing of everything was perfect for me to go home. it was the perfect day for me to go home. If it wasn't then, I probably would have made it a lot further given how the alliances were. And I mean, Scott quitting the day before was the first time that my name was thrown out as someone who was pointing fingers like, I want to get rid of Kitty and Caroline. So that was the first blow to me. And then secondly was my immunity necklace. I didn't get to use it the next day, right? No votings even happened. I lose the necklace the next day and I became a challenge like threat. And people were saying, oh, Winner's actually quite strong. And everyone actually likes him. People started talking about me from Scott quitting and then the challenge. And then the cherry on top was Ferris's resentment towards me and how desperate Kitty and Caroline were to get numbers. So all three together, it was like perfect and it was the best blindside ever. And I'm sure like any Winner haters out there would have loved that episode. Like I'm laughing, rewatching that.
Winner haters, where? I don't see any Winner haters here.
Oh, thank you. No, there's definitely some haters. I'm getting some funny DMs, man.
Oh my God. That is amazing.
Perfect storm for me to leave. That's the game. You can be at the top, you know, you're so safe and you can instantly become the bottom and your next one out. So I think that's the beauty of the game.
Yeah. Are you satisfied with how your journey was shown on the television screen?
I'd say no, to be honest, a little bit. I think they didn't really show like the thought we put in, especially during Tribe Swap, you know, moving forwards, how we escaped that. It seemed like it was more focused on like Kirby bringing us on sort of thing. There was a lot of thought that went behind escaping that. And also, no one really knows my relationships with everyone. Like, obviously, Jaden and I seemed close, but they didn't see how close I was with Val, how close I was with Mark and Eden in the beginning, and all like the groundwork, I guess, I put in. But yeah, and even at Tribal, like the edit was sort of like, I'd say a few random comments and I'd seem pretty clueless with what was going on. But I mean, there's so much footage. There's 24 hours in the day, like so many cameras, thousands of hours, and it's only 1 hour episode. So it's all good. Regardless, it's black and white. I didn't make it through. I didn't win. And yeah, that's just how I see it. So
there's one more aspect of the game that I really want to ask you, and I've yet to ask anyone this, and it's about this kind of twist that we saw. We talked about it a little bit earlier, the Charles elimination, and we saw this huge twist where we're going to compete in a challenge. Only 3 people are going to be safe and only 3 people can vote. So I've yet to ask anyone's opinions on what they thought about this twist. And I think you're the perfect person to ask because it kind of threw off your game in the sense that you guys just made a powerful move. You were in the prime position to, I assume, was it Ferris that was probably going to go home?
Yeah, Ferris was going home for sure that night.
Yeah. So what was your guys' opinions on that twist once you got back to camp? Was there a lot of, man, that was awful? What did you guys think of it?
Yeah, we thought it was awful. It's like the shakeups in the game, I can see it being like entertaining in terms of TV, but in terms of the players, like we're putting in all this groundwork, all our plans for it to just be thrown away instantly. And I don't know. I think for me, at least, the beauty of Survivor is we have all these people from different walks of life, different ages, different ways of building relationships, putting into one place, trying to win that 500K. The beauty of it comes through that, like how they navigate, how they backstab each other. And I feel like the shakeups just completely reset that in a way. And it's like everything, it's like a story that's getting told and then it just starts again, you know, it's ruined. And it's the same with, say, Kelly going home and being sent to the other tribe, or Alex being sent instead, things like that. I'd say I'm not a fan of the shakeups because it takes away from the actual dynamic of what was going on a little bit.
Oh, I would have been furious when I would have been so mad because you guys set yourself up perfectly for that.
Yeah. And the worst part is it came after I was talking shit to Ferris with Val. Like instead of getting to Tribal and them saying there's a shakeup, Jonathan let us all talk shit. Like, Ferris, you're going home tonight because you suck. You this, that. You can't build bonds, this, that. And then the shakeup happened. So, but no, it was hilarious to rewatch, and I can see it being really entertaining. Yeah.
Can confirm it was. For a viewer, it was very entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
No, it was definitely entertaining. And we always like to ask this question because we're coming to the end of our time, unfortunately. But what are you going to take away from this experience as a whole? Because there's so much you can leave Survivor with friendships that are going to last a lifetime, memories that will last a lifetime. So what are you going to take away from this entire journey?
Yeah, I'd say the memories are up there. It was the time of my life. Like, you know, how many people get to be forced to be stuck on an island away from your loved ones with all these random people competing for 500K. Like, it was the best. I love Samoa as a country. It was awesome. Like, it was so much fun. But I think the best lesson I'd say is, even though it is a game of like sales and building relationships and showing you're valuable, just like real life, I think it's clear that you should never be too comfortable, and you should constantly just, certainty is uncertainty, I'd say, is my main takeaway.
Two-part question to end things here.
Oh,
One,
sure.
would you play again if they call you up again and say, Winna, come back out here? And then two, I think everyone's dying to know, or at least I'm dying to know, did being a professional like eater, did that help you at all on the island? You didn't get to do an eating challenge or anything, but that's so cool. We've never had that in Survivor. Did it help you at all?
Yeah. Oh, it helped for sure. I didn't really get shown on TV, but like during the challenges, I mean, the rewards, I would eat so much. Like, at the Mexican feast, I literally poured like the bowl of cheese because I knew there was more calories in the cheese, and I was just scooping the cheese, and it had so much. I reckon I had like 2-3 kilos worth of food that meal, and I feel like that's enough for me the last 2-3 weeks. And I never complained about being hungry. Like, I had one reward challenge, and I was sorted for so long.
It's all that cheese that you packed back.
Yeah. I felt so sick though. I felt so sick, and I think your stomach isn't used to it. Like, you don't eat anything for so long, and then you gorge. Yeah, my stomach was horrible.
Terrible nights. And would you go back out there if they called
Would
you?
I go back? Depending on my life situation, I think I would. I would go give it a better crack. I feel like I've grown so much as a player in the time I was there, and just being around other strong players. Like, most people go in there thinking they've got the best strategy, they got this. But when you talk to some of the other guys like Mark, Eden, Ferris, Kirby, like, you realize that people on a different level and the way their brains work. So I feel like I grew a lot, and I'd love to give it another crack. Yeah.
Winna, I hope you've been converted to a Survivor fan now that you've got to play. And thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us, man. It's been an honor, and we wish you the best with everything moving forward.
Thanks a lot. I had so much fun. Thanks for having me.